Hello YouTube! Let me tell you about the things that other people say you should do that I don't agree that you should do. Welcome back to the Every Closet. My name is Stephanie, and along with my partner Ethan, we are two full-time resellers of used clothing on places like Poshmark and eBay. And in today's video, we're going to be going over some controversial-ish posh tips that I've heard other people say that they do in their businesses that we actually never do in our business. And we're going to go over why. The number one thing, and I think I brought this up in a haul video recently or a thrift with me video, and that is why I thought of this whole video, because a lot of people say to do this and I don't do this. That first thing is source for the current season. So right now, as I'm filming this, it's May, which means it's middle of spring, about to be summer. A lot of people are sourcing for summer things or even maybe late summer, like early fall things, if they're really forward thinking. People will tell you all sorts of rules like be 3 months ahead, be 6 months ahead, be thinking towards next season or 2 seasons ahead, be thinking towards the season you're in now. And that makes sense for a lot of businesses, but it does not make sense for ours for various reasons. For one thing, we sell to both Canada and the US. That means that we're selling to people in Miami, Florida, and we're selling to people in Whitehorse, Canada, up by Alaska. Not everyone is shopping for the same season as whatever your weather is currently doing. Right now we have a heat wave, and then I don't know, maybe in the Maritimes, it's still kind of cold and rainy. I don't know. The point is, the weather's not always doing the same thing wherever you are. And then additionally, people travel. So even people who live here in Vancouver in November might be buying bathing suits for their 1 week vacation to Mexico. People do that all the time here. I just don't think that you can know exactly when people are shopping for what. And we've sold winter jackets in July. We have sold bathing suits in December. We sell winter boots sometimes, anywhere in spring and summer, and fall and winter. And yes, I see the trend of the sales. We tend to have more dresses sell between February and June. We tend to have more jackets sell and sweaters especially between, honestly, mid-July to December, but that is not a hard and fast rule. Travel exists and the weather is different all over the places we sell. Additionally, sometimes we have a backlog of inventory. We haven't lately because our new employee is very efficient at taking photos of clothes, which we love. We're like really on top of things for once ever. But in the past, and I'm sure in the future, we'll get a dump of clothes on us again, and we will be quite behind in terms of when we get something to when we actually list it. The longest I think we've been before is 3 months behind. So that's a whole season. If you source something in November and then it's January when you're listing it, suddenly you're going to think to yourself, oh, I should be listing for spring or even summer. I shouldn't be listing these winter things. It's the end of the season. But I don't think like that. People buy things at random times throughout the year. And additionally, and this is the main reason I don't recommend you do it either, Value Village sells things seasonally. Thrift stores sell things seasonally, meaning they mark up their summer stuff in the summer and they mark up their winter stuff in the fall and winter. So I've been searching lately through the sweater sections and the jacket sections first. They'll be the least picked over. They'll be at the cheapest they're gonna be all year without like discounts and stuff. And I just think I'd rather buy it when it's cheapest than buy it closer to when I need to sell it. And additionally, I understand why this doesn't work for certain business models. We have a 2-bedroom apartment that if this was our entire business, this apartment would not work. We now also have a storage unit, a 10 by 20, pretty well organized storage unit. We have all that space now. And so we have hanging space, we have space for sweaters, we have enough space for our inventory and even to grow it a little bit. So that being said, we can store things for longer. We just can. We're lucky that we're able to pay for that storage unit and that it's really close by and that we have that extra space. If you are a part-time reseller, if you are not having that much space that you can store your inventory, it makes total sense to shop seasonally because you need to have quick turnover so you can keep sourcing and getting fresh items in your closet. And you can't do that if you're holding on to all your winter stuff in spring because there won't be room for any more stuff. One major factor in this business is, do you have enough space? And so if you don't, it makes sense to shop seasonally. And also if you're part-time, if you need the money faster than we need it, we have quite a long latency. I don't know if that's the word, between when we buy something and when it actually sells. And we can do that because we've been doing this business now for almost 2.5 years at least. So we've built up the capital such that the business can handle that. But if it couldn't handle that, you would need faster flips. So for any of these reasons, you need faster flips, then I would totally get sourcing in season. We don't in our business model. This is just the way our business model worked out, honestly. Like, you try some things. So this is what we're doing and it's been working well. So we're happy with it. We do not source seasonally and I do not think you have to. That should be the thumbnail. Probably not. That's a great face too. That could be the thumbnail. The next thing that we do not do that a lot of other people do, and I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm just saying you do not have to do it. We do not keep track of all of our inventory on an external spreadsheet. We don't use a spreadsheet. We do not keep track of any of the things that we source, that we get for free, that are donations, that anything other than consignment, anything we get that we bought at Value Village, any of that, we do not have a spreadsheet for it. And I'm not saying it's not a good idea to do that. When we started, we kept putting it off to the next month. So we were like, we're going to put everything into a spreadsheet in October. And then it became in November. And then it became in the new year. And then it became, we're functioning without this. And I knew for us to put, like at that time, we had around 1,500 active listings as well. For us to put all that into a spreadsheet with like how much it was and where we got it and everything like that would have taken about a month of work. Like not a consecutive month, but you still have to run your business. So that would have taken us about a month. And I was like dreading doing it. And then Edith kind of one day was like, do we need this? Because we have Prime Lister, and luckily Prime Lister is kind of like our digital, not a spreadsheet, but it is a digital track of where everything is. So we have our SKU number, we have our SKU system for our inventory, we put it in Prime Lister, and then it's there forever if we've remembered to put it in, which we always do. It's hard for us to lose things in that system. So with that, we don't really need the spreadsheet. I also think that it would be really fun to have a spreadsheet for like fun numbers and things. It would be fun to know exactly the profit per item. It would be fun. You could calculate some cool things for your business and data. And I actually love doing that. I do. I like organization and calculating and like tracking metrics and watching it go up. I'm a nerd like that. But that wouldn't actually help us sell more stuff, would it? It would just be a cool thing to know and things I could tell you guys like, oh, our average sales price is this, or our average profit margin is this. And like, that's super cool to know, and I wish I did know it, but not to the tune of a month's work. Like I just can't. And then there's also the upkeep work of upkeeping it, because you have to update that thing every day. It's hard enough, in my opinion, to remember to cross delete and to cross list and to keep track of things as they are. If I also had to use an external spreadsheet, oh my gosh, that's a ton of work. And I don't believe in doing extra work that you don't have to do. And you don't have to do it, because as long as you know where your items are and you have a good inventory system, you actually don't need that spreadsheet. And it'd be fun to know like exactly what I paid for everything, but what I paid for something doesn't impact actually what I need to sell it for today. If someone sends me an offer, I shouldn't be like, well, what did I pay for that? Oh, it was $12. Okay, I thought it was $8. So now that I know it was 12, I don't want to accept their offer. That's terrible. It's terrible. I know that like maybe you're not making quite your benchmark profit or whatever, but that the difference of a few dollars, the difference of a little bit of profit, you need to keep things moving in your closet. And if you think like that, you're going to get stuck into keeping things too much. So I think it's better that I don't know the exact number of what I source things for. Sometimes I remember vividly. I mean, almost always I remember a ballpark, but the exact number I think would lead me to like, oh, but if they had just offered $5 more, don't play that game with yourself. The reason you might need to have a spreadsheet is if you don't have your business expenses and income quarantined off in a bank account. So we also don't need one because we have a separate business account, a separate business card, like credit card that we pay for everything for the business on. Things for the business only come out or go into that account. Everything for the business is with that account. So that makes our tax season pretty easy for us because we know exactly the cost of operating the business and exactly what the business has made. If you don't have that, you might need a spreadsheet because you're going to have something to tell CRA or the IRS or wherever you live. You're going to need to tell them what evidence you have that this is what you spent on your business and this is what you made. So the evidence we have for that is pretty robust given that we have very separate business accounts. If you don't do that and you use your personal accounts for your business, which I do not recommend past like very minor success, past like if you're dealing with more than $1,000 a month, I think you should switch to a business account. I really do. That's its own thing. But if you are using your personal account, you probably do need a spreadsheet because you need that data at tax time. But I just recommend getting your own business account and then you don't have to worry about it quite so much. Certainly not on an item by item basis, which is again, just more man hours that you could be using to source or list or get more sales, more. And tracking things, while it would be fun, wouldn't make me more sales. Another thing we don't do, and this isn't really a tip you get that often, but I've seen it and heard it, and it totally makes sense. I just straight up don't do it. I actually think this is something I don't do that would be marginally beneficial enough that it might impact our business by like a few percent. I'm just not willing to do it. That thing is seeing other resellers as competition or like make sure you get to the thrift store early, otherwise all the good stuff will be gone. Make sure you go straight to the leggings section so that you can beat other people to the Lululemon. Anything like that. Anything where you're not sharing information, where you're competing in the thrift store, online, anything like that. Basically gatekeeping in the reselling community. I do agree with gatekeeping certain sources, especially if you have like a really good liquidation source. Don't tell the internet about that. Then the internet is going to go there and ruin it. And to be fair, me not gatekeeping our sources, like I've noticed over the last year or two, our favorite sourcing spots have gotten more frequented and thus have raised their prices. Could also be inflation, but I kind of think a lot of people know about these places now because anyone who comes to my area, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite spot. What I'm saying is, I think it's actually beneficial for you if you do the gatekeeping. I'm just not built that way. Like, the reason we don't follow this tip is because I can't physically do it. I'm a huge open book. I am terrible at keeping secrets. I don't feel like it. And also, like, I just think that you get back more when you give more. So I think the more you give, the more you end up getting back, even if it's in a super roundabout way. I just think that it's good to share. And this may also be because I am from an area where there are fewer resellers. You know, Dallas, Texas might have a lot of resellers because just you guys have a lot more people than we have. But there are fewer resellers for me to compete against. So that might also be a huge contributing factor to this. There's definitely fewer full-time resellers in this area, absolutely, because it's a very expensive area to live. So you have to be able to get yourself through that first whole year where we didn't make any money that first whole year. The first entire year of our business, we washed. So if you can't get yourself through that, and we were super privileged and lucky that we were able to do that. But if you can't, then you like have a hard time starting this business because you invest more into it and that's how you grow it, and it's just difficult. Anyway, so those could all be contributing factors as to why I don't do this. But like I've also just always been like this. Like I had a science degree, and you know, in a science degree everyone wants to go to med school, and so they're like kind of competitive because you're graded on a curve and they like don't share information and stuff. Never once did I do that. I was like, yeah, you want my notes? I'll send you my notes. I just can't. I can't. Even if it's not in my best interest, even if I lose a few percent on a test because everyone else did better, even if I lose a few dollars because everyone else knows about the good sourcing spots too, I can't do it. So I actually think it's good advice. I'm not built that way. I've never been built that way. And I don't think I'll ever be able to be built that way. So that's a reselling tip that I don't follow, which is treating other resellers as competition. And it seems to be working out fine for me. But maybe if this becomes a very, very popular thing to do in my area, Maybe it'll bite me in the ass. Okay, another thing that we do not do that a lot of people will tell you to do that it hasn't worked for me, okay? That's why is source trending styles. I know that we put a bit too much emphasis on Bolo brands. Things can sell by style, not by brand. And certain brands that aren't really Bolo brands, like say J. Crew, their wool coats will sell for a good amount of money because they're just well constructed wool coats, right? But the thing I don't do is I don't really shop by trending styles. So for example, 90s platform wedge shoes, I was not shopping for those unless they were in a brand I knew. The reason being, my Value Village marks all shoes up. So even if it's not in the brand, the style itself would still be like a $15 cost of goods. And every time I've shopped for a style, I have found that the style changes or becomes oversaturated before I even can get it like a good traction on my closet. So sometimes if we're a few months behind on listing versus when I bought it, that thing might not be trendy anymore. And I prefer to shop one of two different types of items. Timeless pieces, so like neutrals, blazers. I don't know why I'm saying blazers, but like jeans, blacks and pretty much anything sold at Aritzia lately is pretty neutral and timeless. But yes, for example, there was like a season where dark green was the color and people were sourcing that color. And I was like, that makes sense for y'all. But by the time I source that, it's going to be oversaturated and that color won't be the color anymore, So I definitely don't do it with things as transient as the color that's in this season. I try to stick to usual colors. And then the other thing I source is very unique or quirky things because I think there's always going to be someone out there who's like, this is super weird. I want it. So those are the types of styles I do is either like classic or that. But I'm not going to be sourcing things that people can wear to the Eras tour. Although I might because they're cute, like cute rainbow things. They're cute. But like I wouldn't be doing it just so people can buy outfits for the Eras tour because by the time I find it and then list it and then sell it, and often like I have a hard time counting on my $25 minimum profit on items that are just by style. Because people are like, well, this retailed for $29. Why would I pay you 23? And I'm like, it's fair. So I do overemphasize brand a little bit more than most, but I purposefully underemphasize style because I think style's too transient to count on. We have too big of a latency between when I pick things up and when I list it to depend on those styles. And because just because something's trendy and in style doesn't mean someone's going to like justify them giving you enough money for it. And I always try and price on the very high end of comps. And it's hard to do that when all you're doing that based off is a style. It's easier to do that when you have material content, brand, quality, original price, things like that. So I don't think you have to shop by style. You can, and especially if it works for you. Like I said, I don't do that because it doesn't work for me in my business. I've done it before. Those items sit and then you're stuck with them and then they're going out of style and you're like, oh my gosh, why did I even source this stupid thing? And now it's not even in anymore, like cold shoulder shirts or things like that just have a moment and then they're done. Like tie-dye did that. A lot of things did that. And I'm not very stylish or in the loop with fashion. So like I don't pretend that I'm going to know when something's going out of style. So I source by things like original price, quality, brand loyalty, things I've sold before, etc. I haven't been counting what number these are. Okay, and another thing that some resellers do that we do not do and we will never do, and don't even come at me for this, handwritten thank you notes or little gifts in people's packages. No, I will never do this. It's a personal thing, right? So we have our thank you notes. And because they're not handwritten, I decided that the thing that would make them feel special is that they're kind of funny. I think they're kind of funny. Some of our people who buy things from us and then leave us love notes also think they're kind of funny. So that's good. And that's what I've chosen to do to make them feel like a special buyer. I know they all get the same one, but it's the time into it versus the benefit. And I don't think people even like you're putting all this lovely work into your handwritten note, and I don't think people even care. And that sucks. So that is why we don't do it, because of the time that it would waste. We always want to be really efficient, and because I don't even think it makes a big difference of like the rating people give you, etc. Most customers just want the item they ordered in the condition they ordered it in, and they want it in a semi-timely manner. That's what I found most people want. This isn't great, but I think I'd feel pretty resentful if I like hand wrote a thank you note and someone opened a case on me, or for like a really bad reason, or gave us a bad rating. I'd be like, I wrote you a note. So that's not a good reason, but that's another reason we don't do it. And then I'll never ever add extra gifts for various reasons. One, money. That's more money. So I've shopped on Posh a lot, and sometimes I get extra gifts and sometimes I don't. And I'll tell you, this is what happens when I get an extra gift. I sell that thing 99% of the time. Sometimes I donate it to Value Village because I'm like, I don't need this. I do not like clutter in my apartment. I do not like extra stuff. I like what I wanted as I wanted it. That's it. That's all I want. And I do feel like a few buyers of ours feel the same way. People do seem to appreciate extra gifts, but I also don't like the precedent that sets. Like, I've seen people, one of our Posh friends, Tabs, you guys know Tabs, the Urban Goddess shop. Ethan, tag her somewhere. She got a comment once that someone didn't give her 5 stars, and they were like, I can't give you 5 stars because you didn't have like an extra gift or something like that, and other people do, so I can't give you the same grade I gave them. And we were both like, that's crap. Like, that is not the standard I want us setting. So honestly, if you give extra gifts, I would appreciate it if you'd stop. But you don't have to. Run your business however it's working for you, and that's awesome. I'm not actually like mad about it or anything. I don't want extra stuff that I have to deal with then if I'm the buyer. If I'm the seller, I do not want to set that precedent for my buyers. And honestly, most of the time it's junk anyway. Like, it's things that you're guessing people might want. So it's like tea or a face mask or a little purse or something you get at Claire's. Like, I don't want any of that. I hate knickknacks and I don't want it and I'm not giving it. And yeah, also you're like cutting into your profit then too. Like, if I add a little $2 gift to everything, that's $2 less profit. I'm not willing to take that hit for all of my items I sell. Plus then you'd have to keep it in stock and you'd have to store it, and that would, oh, there's just so many reasons. I would never. I can't. Okay, I think that was 5 things that other people will tell you to do that we straight up don't do. And I just wanted to add a little bonus, and this kind of speaks to the theme of this video. I always blank, or I never blank. I don't think there's any single always that we follow, because we think it's more important to keep things kind of flexible and never rule out any options in our business. So I'll never follow something like, I always pick up Lululemon. No, there's lots of Lululemon that you shouldn't pick up for various cost of goods or out of date reasons. And that's the same for any brand. Like, there's Gucci I don't pick up too, because cost of goods, condition, I'm skeptical that it's real. That's most of it. But like, I don't always pick up anything at the store, and I don't always leave behind any brand either. I don't always counter a lowball offer. I hear that one a lot. Always counter, always counter. And I don't even decline because I'm like angry and reacting. I decline sometimes because I think that person would respond better to a decline than to a counter. So like, if say I have something listed for $100 and someone offers me 30, I think, based on me having done this a bunch of times, my conspiracy theory is that if I counter 70, they're just going to come back with like 40 or 50 or something. I'm like, no, seriously, 70. So sometimes I decline to show them like, hey, we are not even in the same ballpark. And I have had people come back with higher offers after that, and then I'll counter and be like, okay, we can play negotiation now. But if you're offering yourself 60, 70% off, it depends. And I don't know what it depends on. Some sort of vibe I get from the person or their closet or their previous purchases or things like that. But if they have paid reasonable amounts for things in the past, and I can see that from their love notes, then I'll sometimes just decline, to be like, that's not even in my price range that you're doing. And sometimes they do come back. And sometimes when you decline, they just never come back. And sometimes when you counter, they also ghost you forever. So I don't actually, like, I don't have data. I don't know. Most of the time I do counter, but I'm definitely not going to say something like, I never decline offers, because I do. And so things like that. Also, things that I feel like we haven't sourced liquidation, but I'm not going to say I'll never source liquidation. Like, I'm sure there's good ones out there, despite all the bad ones that we've all heard about. Yeah, so there's just nothing I'm going to rule out in my business. We do have systems in place, but they're flexible. For now, we're sending thank you notes the way we're sending thank you notes, but maybe later we'll just be doing thank you stickers, or maybe later we'll just be maybe we'll go back to handwritten. Like, I don't currently do that, but I'm not going to write it off. And then I just said I would never send extra gifts. But look, I will never send extra gifts. If for some reason I have to, I'll be pretty salty about it. But anyway, that's the bonus, and that's also kind of the point of this video, is like, we run a very different business than a lot of other resellers. There's so many business models, so many ways to source, so many ways to discount things, and platforms to sell on, and things to sell, clothes, shoes, action figures, Pokemon cards. You can resell so many different things, and that's going to change your business model by a lot. So like, if you're someone who just sells books on eBay and you buy them for 50 cents or so and you flip them for 20 bucks, like, A, amazing profit margin, B, easy to photo, easy to list, so easy. But C, like, we don't do that because I don't have the knowledge in that area to know what's even worth that, right? Or to know where to get 50-cent books, because Value Village wants $6.99. And I don't want to give them it. So the point of this video is just, we all have very different business models and we do things differently. I think these are 5 things that you will hear about that aren't necessarily like tips that you have to follow. And you don't have to follow any tips, but there's a lot of tips that are pretty solid, like you need to list every day. That's a very solid tip. But these ones here especially are ones that we threw out in our business. We tried them, they didn't work out, and we don't do them. And I encourage you to do the same in your business. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you learned anything new or had any cool insights from this video, please hit subscribe down below, and I'll do lots more videos, and that'll be the thing we do. I'll make videos, you can watch them, maybe they're entertaining, maybe they're helpful. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to do here. So you guys are fantastic, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.